my goodness. Guys, welcome to the Mother Days podcast. I'm Teresa Palmer.
And I'm Sarah Wright Olsen. Hi, daisies.
Guys, you know that Sarah geeked out with her special guest, Laura Lynn Jackson.
Did.
Well, now it's my turn to geek out with my special guest, Jessica G. Oh my goodness, Sarah, how much have I been talking about Jess and her family recently?
I think for like years, you have been talking about them and following along. And I have also followed along with your family. And think you guys are just amazing. And we're so excited to have you on this show, Jess. And I'm gonna do a little intro for you. For anybody who has not followed along with the Bucket List family,
which is nobody.
Which is nobody. So whatever. We're gonna do it anyway. You guys, so Jessica G, mama of 3 from the popular YouTube channel, The Bucket List Family. You guys have traveled to 90 countries over the past 8 years with millions of people from all over the world following along. And you just recently published your National Geographic book, which is a bestseller, which is an indispensable guide by the Bucket List family, discovering expert tips, traveling with kids, and 50 not to be missed destination itineraries. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you both for having me. Teresa, I mean, I think I fangirled probably equally then, because there used to be a tool, I think it was called Social Rank, where you could see who followed you, like who had other like big accounts.
Yeah.
And that might have been one of the ways that Garrett, that we both were like, oh my gosh, look at this girl. And
oh my God,
kind of early on. And when we found some other like celebrities that followed us, and we were always, I don't know, I'm always that person that I'm like, wait, me? Really?
Oh my gosh.
But it's made me feel really excited.
I actually remember that tool, and you could see the people with the like verified accounts that follow you. And I'm like, oh my God, wait, Paris Hilton follows me? What do you mean? Like, it's so funny.
For me, it's like the psychic mediums and like Glennon Doyle, like when, people that I'm like, I read your book, or.
Yeah, she nerds out for authors, and you're an author.
You're an author.
I am so pumped to have you on the show. We just recently hosted this like manifest night called the Daisy Dream Circle. We're like massive into manifesting and calling things in and vision boards, and like totally live my life that way. I was just in this place where like your stuff kept coming up on Instagram. You know how social media, the algorithm, it just like shows you the things that it knows you'll be interested in. And it was just constantly you guys. And I was like, I said to my husband, why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we doing this? We need to be doing this. Let's take the kids out of traditional schooling. Let's like get on the road. Let's take them to all these different diverse cultures. I mean, they literally bounce between Australia and America, and we were in the UK a little bit. And I was like, it's not that diverse. I want them to go to different countries that feel completely unique and like foreign compared to what they're used to. And so I was like, right, I'm putting these guys on my manifest board. And everyone who listens knows that I'm very like into this stuff. So I have a whole corner of my board dedicated to you guys. Your book is on there. Your family.
See, will you send me a picture?
Yeah, I'm going to. I want to just start from the beginning. My favorite thing about you is that you and your husband actually are quite different in so many ways. And he was like, we're doing this big adventure. Whoa, we're going to do this whirlwind. And you're like, hang on a second. Are we? Like, is this really what I want to do? And I would love to hear about the evolution of that and the decision to go on the road and, just what that journey has been like.
Yeah, I always say my husband is the king of extreme and I'm the queen of moderation. Garrett is always reaching for the stars and I'm the one who's bringing him back down to earth. So it's a really good balance. And sometimes I'm just like, gosh, can you please just sit still for 5 minutes? And he's the one who's like, absolutely not. Here we go.
Oh my God.
But it worked out, So yeah, I mean, back in 2015, we were at a weird point and, I don't even know how, I was maybe 28, 29 or something like that. My husband had a company in college that he sold to Snapchat. So we were came into this money at quite a young age and didn't know what was next. It didn't feel right to build a house or to settle down. So a lot of it, frankly, was putting off any grown-up decisions. And I was the one who said, let's do a little bit of traveling. I had always wanted to go to Australia. Garrett wanted to go to Tonga. So we had like 2 or 3 places on our bucket list. And then we filled in the rest with some other spots in Southeast Asia. And of course, again, I'm a little bit of traveling, and Garrett is sell everything and, create an Instagram and a YouTube. And I think, back in 2015, travel influencing wasn't really a thing. Mommy blogging was a thing.
Yeah.
So I will say Garrett had some really good foresight in what could potentially be. But much to my surprise, after about 4 or 5 months of travel, we came home and we were like, we had agreed, let's come to decisions separately. Do we want to keep going? And do we want to, stop? And I mean, of course, Garrett is the yes man and is going to keep going. But I was surprised how much I was loving life and living out of a suitcase and being on the road and being with my kids and family 24/7. Like I was liking it, like really enjoying it. So I was like, well, let's keep going until this money is gone and see if we can turn this into something. And we were able to. So I think our timing was so good.
Yeah.
That it worked out, like from a business standpoint.
Oh, it's so inspiring. And I think that's also why you've amassed such a massive following, because we all have the dreams of
Yes.
what would that be like? What would it be like to sell your house, sell your car, be like, I'm going away, even if it's just for a couple of months, like the enriching experiences that you guys have had. And I have watched your kids grow up, and just through the lens of obviously social media, but they just like seem so self-confident and self-aware and like just warm, loving children who are so adventurous. I sit and watch the videos of my kids. Like my 4 kids will sit around and be like, show us another bucket list family video. And then I showed them like the recent one in Antarctica where you guys like jumped into the freezing cold water.
Oh my God.
They're all like, those kids are so brave. Like, whoa, it's amazing. Look at that little one go. And it's just, you're creating memories with these kids that they'll have forever. And I'm sure we'll inspire them to want to have an adventurous spirit as well.
I hope so. That's the goal. I always have this like fear that maybe our kids are going to be hoarders and homebodies or something. Like maybe we're a little too much and they're going to go like complete the opposite direction. But no, especially I think my oldest daughter, she's already like, I want to start making videos. I want to record, she's really into it. And we're really trying to give them more of a say in everything we do. And at the beginning of this year, I was like, what do you want to do? And, or what do you want to do this summer? And my daughter's like, I want to go to China and see the panda bears.
Wow.
Let's go to China and see the panda bears.
Wow.
And so, yeah, now we're going where the kids want to go. And that's really going to be a lot of fun this year.
Oh, and do you ever feel like, or I actually don't even know how you manage doing the schedule of filming and everything, but like, do you ever feel like, oh, I wish we could just like not have to do that right now and just go and like do these trips and not be recording it? And like, does any of that ever come up where you're just like, it's just sometimes feels like a lot?
The only thing that is a lot, so going, traveling, being there, never a lot. My husband, it's always just my husband behind a camera. I've tried to make very sure that like rarely are my kids behind somebody else's camera. And because of that, it's just us. And Garrett is so good at having out his iPhone or his GoPro and living in the moment. And so it's only the hours and hours of editing afterwards that I'm like, oh, Garrett, you're working so much, because he also edits everything. We don't have an editor.
Well, I said this to my husband. I was like, you would have to edit everything. Like, I'm not going to like be in bed after the amazing trip and be like, now I'm going to edit.
So much work. And I have tried for years to get him to hire an editor, but to him, it's family memories and family journal. And he just doesn't trust anybody but himself. So that's the part that I'm like, oh, geez. But the travels are always quite easy. And we've gotten into a good groove where it doesn't ever feel like work.
Yeah.
Rarely, like sometimes there's maybe something we have to go and do that you're like, I don't know if I would do this if I wasn't, being hosted by a tourism board or something like that. But for the most part, that just doesn't really happen. We're pretty good about speaking up and saying, this doesn't feel right, or this isn't something we want to do.
Wow. I love that so much. Yeah. I was like really trying to plot out realistically like a month ago, like, right, okay, so we've got to just maybe reach out to the tourism boards. Like I'll just kind of send some emails, I guess, and be like, we want to do this. And Mark's like, I think we need to start the YouTube channel first. And I was like, right. And then who actually puts the videos together? And he was like,
oh my God.
I don't know. And I was like, I guess we get an editor? And I was like, oh my God, we haven't thought this through at all. It's just the idea of it is so nice. But yeah, we did do our first little stint with the South Australian Tourism Commission. We had the best time because they show us, and they do that with you guys too. They take you to the very most exciting opportunities that the tourism board has to offer because they're trying to showcase all these amazing things about their state or the particular city. So we did sandboarding, we swum with the seals. It was
so fun.
It was so much fun. And it really that planted the seed. I was like, right, this is it. You recently
keep going.
Thank you. Oh my gosh.
Keep doing it. That's great.
Yeah, we loved it so much. We also really love RVing and being on the road. Yeah, that's true. And I love the idea of pulling the kids out of traditional schooling and kind of world schooling. I wanted to ask you, when you were on the road full time, I know that you've settled down now in between, like for school, you're in Hawaii.
Yeah.
How did you manage the on the road, like world schooling, homeschooling, all that stuff?
Well, at the time our kids were young, frankly, and we stopped traveling full time when our oldest Dorothy was 5. Oh. So she was going into kindergarten. So we never really had that full time travel homeschool situation that would have to happen now if we decided to do that. And frankly, I am not equipped to be a homeschool teacher. Even just, we took the kids out of school for a month to go to Antarctica, and the teachers sent all their work. And I was like, this is
this won't get done.
It's so hard to do that. And some kids are easier than others, but it's not for me. So props to the families who really do that world schooling and take that on the road. Cause for me, it's just not a relationship I can handle. I wish it was.
I know. I find it really hard. Even during COVID, I think we all struggle with that.
So hard. And my husband, especially during COVID, was like, just take him out and homeschool him. And I'm like, are you gonna homeschool him? Because that's not, you can't gamble that on me. So he wishes I would, but it's a full-time job, I feel like, in and of itself, just teaching, being, your teacher's educator.
I think it's also hard. I don't know. I guess it depends on the kid too, exactly like what you're saying. But it's, for me, like I struggle with like that relationship. Like it's hard enough like being a parent, but then also like having to teach and get your kids to be on it and complete the work that they need to complete. And it's just like, it's hard enough. Like,
and it depends on the kid. Cause my daughter, honestly, if it was just her, I probably could do it with her. And she's a mega self-starter. But my middle child he actually did pretty good in Antarctica, but my littlest, he can't read yet. And so anytime learning, for the most part, has to be alongside me. He can color and cut and paste and do all those things, but it's a lot of work.
Yeah, I can't teach a kid to read because I'm not even sure how I learned to read, and I definitely can't teach a child to read.
Isn't English so hard?
It's so hard. It doesn't make no sense.
I know. No sense.
I'm like, how are 2 words spelled exactly the same but said completely differently? Like that just doesn't make sense. And how do you then explain like which one to use in which context? It's too hard. I've been trying to do it with my son.
So hard.
Oh my goodness. It's really challenging. So with your decision to like come back, was that something that your heart just spoke to you? Like, it's been amazing. We love being on the road full time, but it's ready just to like plant some roots and establish community.
Yeah, Garrett and I both grew up super traditionally. We grew up and never moved, had the same kids from elementary school to high school, went to the public school, had the whole, sports and community and church groups, stuff like that. So that's what we had always planned on for the kids. And that's what we wanted. So it's been this balance of figuring out how to do both. I like joke that I feel like Hannah Montana. So when I'm like at home, I'm at home. And then when I'm on the road, I'm living this double life.
Yes.
And I love both of them. I genuinely love both of them. And I don't want to give up one or the other. But when we settled down and finally got a community, it's hard to want to leave. And it's a very weird situation to be in when someone is like, can I pay you to go, to Korea and with your family and do all these amazing things? Or do you want to like stay at home? And I mean, even in Antarctica last month, we missed Valentine's Day. We missed birthday parties. We missed the field day. Like we missed a lot. And those are experiences that I love for my children, and have a lot of that mom guilt that I'm taking them out of field day.
I know.
And, but then at the same time, we're with penguins and seals and watching all these incredible things. So I can't be too hard on myself because I know I'm doing really great as well.
I love that's such an interesting perspective, because I think like when you aren't experiencing something like that, you do look and go, oh, the grass must be so much greener, right? Like it must be so magical to go and do that. But I know exactly what you mean is like those moments when we've had to leave for work or whatever it was, and like the kids they miss something or you miss something. Like I've missed field days and like things that, being the parent on the field trip and things like that because of work. And I'm always like, oh, I feel so guilty. And like, am I taking away from that special time? And I think about our childhood. Like, where did you grow up, Jess? Did you grow up in Hawaii or somewhere?
I grew up in Denver, Colorado. I was just
beautiful.
The quintessential girl next door, suburbia. So this lifestyle was never even remotely on my radar. I am genuinely the most inside the box human you can probably think of. So to be living this lifestyle, I mean, credit to my husband who is outside of the box. And, it's been an interesting like marital situation to be where we're at, because this isn't what I wanted or asked for. And I'm super grateful for it. But sometimes it kills him to know that I'm like, I would have been super content raising my family in suburbia.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. What does he say? Beautiful.
When you guys have that?
He's had to learn. We've like really dove into each other's personality types. And I don't know if you study the Enneagram at all, but like
I'm obsessed.
Enneagrams and what obsessed.
Yes.
Right. So like what motivates us, and for him to understand that peace motivates me, and for him, freedom motivates him. So for him to understand, I think once he really understood that, he was like, okay, you're not being ungrateful. You just genuinely are happy where you stand. And I'm like, 100%. And that, because he would see me sometimes as being complacent. And I'm like, I don't think complacency is necessarily a bad word in my book. It's like I said, happy where I stand. Whereas Garrett is what's next? And that's what brings him joy. And he needs to learn how to be anyway. So just learning each other's like motivations and what drives one another has been really helpful in our marriage, especially when it comes to working with your spouse.
And is that just having an open line of communication, like sitting down, like maybe you're feeling some tension or some friction, and just being like, hey, this is how I'm seeing things. This is what I'm feeling. And just like having an open book and just being so candid about your feelings with each other.
That's what I'm working on. That's what we're working on. I think that's an ever growing thing, because he's a 7 in the Enneagram, and he doesn't like having difficult conversations. It's all hunky dory to him always. And so to me, I want peace, and I want just this, hey, this bothered me. Let's talk about it for 2 seconds and move on with our lives. And for some reason, those conversations were very difficult for him. So anyway, that's what we're working on.
Yeah, it's so funny. Mark and my husband and I had a fight this morning, and I was like, but I can be quite harsh. And I was like, we're raised differently. Like you were raised to like go against rules, and I was raised to be a rule follower. And I was like, at the end of the day, it's like you're two different people who have like such different like conditioning.
What are your guys' Enneagrams?
I'm a 2. I don't know what he is. I don't know what, but we also do Myers-Briggs too. Like I'm really big into the Myers-Briggs. Yeah. So I'm an ENFJ, but I swing between ENFP and ENFJ. And he was like totally different. He was like INTJ or something. But he's freedom as well. He's like all about freedom, like against the system. Like, but he's very like, I just want free. That's how he is. He loves adventure. But I'm a little bit more, there's a sensibility to me. I'm wild and crazy and free, but I also like really want to do things the proper way as well.
Right.
And it's always just like a massage in relationships, like the yin to the yang, like talking and communicating. And sometimes it's like Mark and I say, if we have a big fight, it's like the breakdown to breakthrough. Like, oh, wow, I actually feel really good that I was able to fully stand in my truth and tell you like the shape of like who I am and why I'm feeling like this. And it's totally so potent, you know?
Totally. And I feel like our 15th anniversary is tomorrow and we celebrated it last night. But it was just this I feel like our connection and our conversation and our like the way we like work with each other has just gotten better and better, which is fun to see that because we understand why we are the way we are and how we are and the ins and outs, where I think we are getting better at all the communication and sharing those things. So I love that you said the massage of marriage.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's so beautiful.
It is. It's so nice. And it's also really nice. I really enjoy talking about it. We talk about it a lot on the podcast. Like we're so open about, because it's so, you see social media, you have this perception of how someone's lives are and how they look, and it looks so glamorous, like whether it's like you guys on the road and the travel and it's incredible adventure after adventure, or if people are looking at us and like, oh my God, they're going to red carpet events and they're in movies. And it's like, that's why I love breaking down the barriers and being like, I also just get in fights with my husband as well. And I also like get really, and, you know, Sarah talks so much about her anxiety and like she gets a lot of anxiety and the things that we navigate as humans, which connects us all, no matter what you do or how many Instagram followers you have. It's like, that's the thread that binds us, is just like these human experiences.
Yeah, it absolutely. I wanted to ask you, Jess, about the first inkling of the book, like that came up. Was that something that you were like, oh, I really want to write a
funny.
book?
So it's funny you guys even mentioned manifesting, because I remember it was 2020 and one of our dear friends, you know, we were just chatting and he was like, who's your dream brand you want to work with? And Garrett and I said National Geographic. And legit 2 days later, we were leaving his house in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. We were driving to Seattle, and I get an email from Allison at National Geographic saying, have you ever considered writing a book?
Stop.
Which I hadn't. Books are not necessarily the way I consume. I'm much more of like a podcaster or audiobook type of person.
Me too.
And so we have something called Bucket List Friends. It's kind of a podcast webinar. That's where we've shared our wealth of information over the last 5 years or so. And then when National Geographic came along and was like, have you ever considered this? I was like, well, I've told a lot of publishers no, but with you guys, 1000% yes. And, you know, she pitched me on a really visual, thick coffee table book, and it just made so much sense and was a no-brainer. So, it's been, you know, almost 4 years. What is it? 2024. Yeah. It's been 4 years this summer, and, has been a really fun process. I've loved it. I've loved the team at National Geographic. And I think sometimes maybe as a mom, you just feel like you don't, I don't know, you cook, you clean, you repeat. It's just this like mundane, repetitive stuff. And so when I sat down to write and I just spilled out all the stuff onto a page, I was like, oh my gosh, I know a lot of stuff. I was so proud of myself that I wasn't just this like mom brain that I always thought I was. I was really impressed with myself, and I was like, this is good stuff. This is good information. And anyway, I just love the whole process. And you know, we're talking with them about writing a second volume right now and deciding what that's going to look like. So yeah.
I mean, I feel like, part of the reason why I fell so in love with you guys is because your kids are freaking adorable. And, but you are so like, you're so endearing. Like there's something about watching you on the trip that's the most exciting part to me, because I see you the way that, I don't know. It's like, it's almost like things are happening and you're sort of like, am I really going to do this? And then you like do it. And it's just, I don't know. It just feels so brave to me, like all the things that you've done. And some things that I go, oh my God, I would never do that. Or, you know, that would be so scary. But then you're also doing this in front of your kids. Like I think about, there was a day my daughter on the beach, she was so scared of the waves, and my husband surfs, my son surfs. And my husband was like, look, watch, we'll take mommy out. And I was like, literally inside, I went into full panic mode of like, yeah, let's take mommy out. Good idea. And like, we went out and this massive wave just like completely tossed me back as I'm trying to get out. And I come back up and I was like, I got to just keep looking brave, you know? And I went all the way out, and then he pushed me into a wave, and I finally stood up and I showed my daughter, and it made her feel so brave, and she wanted to get out and do it. But I wanted to go back to the beach and sob because it was so scary. And I think about that when I watch you guys, because I'm like, look at what you're doing. Like you do this, all of these things that I know, you know, according to watching your show, like you seem afraid of. Maybe it's not the thing that you would necessarily do, but then you go and do it. And like, that's so empowering to kids and families. And I think it's such a great example. So I love that you're going to do a second volume to your book, because just looking through all the things in your first book, like, I don't know, it just makes me excited. And it's cool that that's what you're like putting out into the world.
Well, thank you. Well, it's not always easy. I feel like it's just a tradition in our family. I don't know if you want to call it tradition or a value, or we always try new things, or we're always willing to try it once. And so it's never a question. So when we're in Antarctica polar plunging, it's, you know, when people are kind of talking on the boat, oh, are you going to polar plunge? No. Are you going to polar plunge? Yeah, for sure. You know, it's like, of course we're going to polar plunge. And, but, you know, Garrett, you know, we have to tell each other, like, keep it together.
Yeah.
Because the kids are watching.
Yes.
And we want the kids to be like to have that mentality going forward in life. Like, why would I not try this? Or why would I not do this? Like, it's just expected in our family to be brave, which, you know, I don't know how that is psychologically, but that's just kind of what we do. And, you know, we talk about everything, and we jumped into the water in Antarctica, and it was freezing.
It like makes you feel like you can't breathe.
It hurt. And we've, you know, cold plunged a bunch. We have a cold plunge at our house, and it was just needles, like paralyzing cold. And you get out, you're really safe. So you jump in and they just pull you right out. And then Garrett, this is again, my extreme husband, who's like, let's do it again. So me and the kids are like, anyway, but then luckily there was this gal, the activities coordinator. She was like, sorry, we don't have time for 2 jumps. And I was like, oh, bless you.
Thank God.
Thank you so much. I was so grateful I didn't have to do it again.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's so amazing. And so Garrett, was he like raised in a similar way that you, like, where did this adventurous spirit come from in him? Or is it like all from self?
I would say Garrett has one of his favorite things in life, weirdly, is that he loves overcoming the natural man. Like it gives him so much joy for whatever reason like he takes cold showers because he wants to, because he can prove to himself that he, you know, like to him, he says comfort never was happiness. So to him, like whether it's the cold showers or getting out of his comfort zone or jumping off of high things, he loves and thrives doing that sort of stuff. And I don't know where he got it, because he grew up also, you know, suburbia, Utah. So.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. It's
in
so
the middle
good.
Of Utah.
In Utah. I love it. Oh my.
Wow. That is amazing. So I'm like imagining now he's probably was like rock climbing and like all of that stuff as a kid in Utah. But that is so cool.
And what is it like? Like, what's it like now living in Hawaii? You've built your community. You're like in the sort of more rude, that motherhood routine of like dropping the kids at school and doing the things. Like, are you in your happy place?
I love it here. When we bought this place in Hawaii, we had agreed it was going to be a 3 to 5 year plan. And now we're coming on year 6. And I just don't know where we would go. I don't know where we would go. We have fallen in love. For the first 3 years when we lived here, we were either hosting or we were traveling a bunch. So we just didn't feel rooted in a community. And then COVID happened and the island completely shut down. So it was just the families that lived here. And we did a gentleman, local guy did a surf camp for families. And we just fell in love with some of these families. And now we're just the bestest of friends. So it really is this tough, like I said, do you want to travel or do you want to stay and be at home? But I think probably people would be surprised to see how big of homebodies we are when we're home. You know, we're not off really exploring the island that much. You know, we have our like go-to beaches and things that we do, but we're school and soccer practice and drama and dance practice and just like regular life when we're home. And I love that. So it's a really good mix.
Yeah, that sounds so wonderful. They're still having these enriching, wonderful, exciting experiences and growing up in such a unique way. And then also they're getting to just be like planted somewhere and be a part of a community, which is so, so nice. I also crave that. Like we are always on the road because of my work. So it's like the kids will be in school for a month here and then we're out and we're moving and now we're in Sydney and then we're going to Wales.
So you take the kids when you're filming, you take the kids with you.
I cannot be without my kids.
I get that.
Actually, I've never even tried, to be honest, but I just feel like I wouldn't be able to do my work to the level that I need to do my work if I wasn't coming home and switching gears into mothering and nurturing them. And they still really need mothering. Like they still, like even my 10-year-old, like I've got such a beautiful nighttime routine with him. The idea that he wouldn't have me to do that. Like we were so close to trying it. Now that they're like 10 and 7, the boys, I have to go to Australia for 6 weeks. They were like, maybe we'll stay in America with Dad. And I was like, okay, sure. That's all right. We can figure that out. And then we talked about it and I really talked about the reality of it. And then they were like, oh, actually we want to come. And so we're like on that precipice now of like, maybe I'm sure they'll get to the age where they're like, no, we actually just want to stay in school and we'll stay here with Dad. But they always travel with me. And I do have the mum guilt of like, oh, like in Australia, we call it sports days. I'm not sure if that's the same as the field day. Is that where you like do sports and stuff and you win the little ribbons?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Like so we have swimming carnival and we have sports days and you have dress up days and you have book week and all the things that I'm like, oh, they're not getting to have those because we're always on the road.
So when you guys go back to Australia for like a 6-week filming situation, will you homeschool for those weeks then?
Pretty much, but like a version of homeschooling. Like they'll probably do an hour or 2 a day. Like my kids don't work well sitting down for 6 hours going through books with a tutor. We've just never found success with that. But we figure out like if we can just get an hour or 2 in of sort of the main things, then they can have the rest of the day to go to the beach, to explore, to do whatever it is that they want. For people who are listening and who are intrigued at the idea of just kind of picking up and going somewhere, even if it's just for 6 weeks, do you have a few like very family friendly destinations? I'm sure you have so many and it's in your book too, but what could you recommend to people listening that's just sort of easy?
Honestly, I think Australia is a very cool place to go and like grab the RV and do that thing. You know, you can spend a long time exploring that.
Yeah.
We did Southeast Asia first. I think Southeast Asia, Thailand, Singapore, Vietnam, like those places, Indonesia, Bali, like your money can go really far and you have really great culture, really great adventure. You have service opportunities. That's probably one of my favorite places, I think, for maybe beginner travelers to go and get their feet wet for like an extended period of time. Actually, my sister-in-law, she and her fiance, they just left like a month ago and they've been going around Asia.
Wow.
And they work remote. She's a personal trainer and he's a video editor. and they're cruising. So I'm stoked that they found a way to be able to do it, and they're staying in places that are $40 a night and $25 a night. They're probably moving place to place more than I would with kids because they don't have kids, but they are figuring it out. And so it's fun to see how many people are able to live this nomadic lifestyle by working remote.
Would you say that you guys like travel really light when you travel? Because people ask us all the time, like, how do you guys do it when you have kids? And for me, I'm always like, they have to do a carry-on and that's it. But like when you guys travel around and go to all the places, are you just like backpack, carry-on, that kind of vibe?
Backpack and carry on. Our kids have a little backpack that they carry and they know whatever they put in it, they have to carry. And then we've just this last year switched to carry on only.
Wow.
And it's awesome. I will say the one thing I learned, I wouldn't go back to check bag, but with little kids, putting 5 carry-ons on the security belt,
yes,
and putting 5 security bags or 5 bags in the overhead bins, like it's just kind of a lot.
Yes.
So if you have young kids, I don't know if I would recommend the carry-on only. It's just a lot to have in your hands unless your kids are really good travelers.
Yeah.
I might recommend just checking a bag, but it kind of depends on the situation. But I pack the exact same amount that I do for 2 weeks away that I do for 3 months.
I have tried very hard to do the same thing. And I watched your video and you're like, this is the camera bag. This is my bag. This is that. And I was like, all right, I'm going to try it.
But your style is super cute and you like dress really cute. I don't dress cute.
Oh my God,
style
that's
is
not true.
So,
that is
my style is just like t-shirt, pants.
Not true. That is so not true. But anyway, I was like really proud of myself. Like yesterday, I said, you know what? This is too much stuff. I'm about to travel alone with the 4 kids to Australia next week. And I was like, every kid has a checked bag. Every kid has a backpack. Every kid has a scooter bag that they scoot through the airport. And I was like, I'm traveling on my own. I've got the 2 yo-yo strollers, the ones that connect together. I'm like, I actually cannot manage all of these carry-ons and the scooter bags.
4 kids? No way. That's tough.
By yourself.
No, by myself. I was like, oh, this is not going to fly. So I sat on the floor yesterday. I repacked the entire thing. Everyone does have one suitcase that's checked in. We're going away for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
But there's always laundry where like usually there's, and you can always hand wash.
Totally. Yeah. There's laundry wherever you go and you layer your stuff and everything mix and matches.
I know.
Yeah.
I have this one particular kid, Forrest, in my family who's really artistic and he's into wearing like the one glove and the jacket and the popped collar and the like he's that kid. And I'm like, but he needs options. Like he wants fashion options.
You're so
and
cute.
And then Poet, my daughter's the same way. She was like, I want the skirt today and then I want this particular dress and I've been finding that really hard to cull and to get it down to a lighter pack. But Sarah, you're so good at it. You're amazing as well. I just can't.
I'm always afraid my stuff's going to get taken or like it's not going to end up where I need it to be. So that's too much anxiety for me on an airplane to think like I'm the person like staring out the window at all the bags being like, did I see my bag get on? Did I see it?
Yeah.
Did I see it? Yes.
No, I'm like sitting on the plane with my air tracker, just like looking to make sure that it's getting on the plane.
And that would make me start sweating. Like I left my breast pump at an airport one time and never got it back. Like I accidentally left it in a bag and they took the bag and it was like a whole thing. And I was like, that's my breast pump. Like now I have to order one to the hotel. But I wanted to ask you, like, what has the biggest like challenge for you guys been when you do all of this? Like what was the most challenging part of it?
I mean, I would say early on, it was the lack of community. Just very quickly, I would say maybe after a month or so, it was like, okay, like I miss my people. Or our kids would make friends with like a little girl at a pool and they would play for 2 or 3 days and then they would have to say goodbye to the friend.
Yes.
So it was a lot of the, meeting people and then having that kind of ripped away when you move on to the next spot. That was probably the hardest part of at least the full-time travel situation.
I just saw the video that you put up about the scientist that your kids all fell in love. Is that what it was? She was a scientist, right?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, she was a
tears.
polar scientist. I have never seen my kids, especially my littlest. Like, I leave town for my book tour and he's like, bye, Mom.
Bye.
and he was sobbing. He was beside himself. It was so sweet. She ended up flying out like a week or so later because she had a couple weeks off, and she's amazing. But yeah, that was so sad.
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh.
I love that though. Like, what a beautiful, my kid, we went to a village in the Cascade Mountains, and we were sort of in this community that was very removed, and we had no internet or anything. And it was so beautiful. And my kids met this other kid there. And the whole time we were there, he was like there with his grandpa, and they became really close. And Esme just like took to him. She was 4 and this boy was 7, and he just carried her around everywhere, and they were just like besties. And when we left, they all cried, and I got the guy's email and lost it. And so they never got to connect with him.
Oh.
I know. It's just so sad because my kids to this day, they still talk about him. They still talk about, and there's
That's
like pictures.
So sweet.
And I'm like, so I totally get what you mean, because it's like, it's kind of like that summer camp thing where you go and see someone and then you're like, you never see them again. We're just like,
well, I think kids, they're so good at I'm trying to think, I'm like, when was the last time I had that reaction?
Yeah.
I opened myself up enough to a stranger over a day or a week or whatever, and then had that reaction when I said goodbye. Like, that's so sweet and so pure.
It's so innocent, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh, it's so beautiful. You guys are you're really inspiring to so many. You just are. I love like how you grasp life the way you do. And it's like you're really living. You're having all these different experiences, and it's so enriching for your kids. And to hear that your daughter's like really keen on like filming and wanting to like make her own videos.
That's exciting.
Because that is amazing. My son Bodhi is like that. He's like, I want to be a YouTuber. I was like, oh my God, please no. And he was like, maybe I could do like gaming on YouTube. And I was like, you're not doing gaming on YouTube.
No.
Like, no, you're not going to be a gamer on YouTube. Like, please don't aspire to be a gamer. And I was like, but maybe if you want to YouTube and you can talk about your experience, like when we travel and he was like, okay, cool. Like, I would really want to do like video, like vlogs and stuff. Have you ever, like, how do you feel about like the kids and privacy? And I'm always this like swinging pendulum with this stuff, because my husband's like, what is no one has privacy anyway. Like, no one has privacy. I'm a filmmaker. I make art with my children. We curate it, like we're in charge of it, like we, so this is his. And I'm always like, ooh, how much do I show, how much do I not? Like, I always had 2 rules, which was like nothing that could bring them shame, like I show some shameful behavior that they would later be like, oh my gosh, I feel shame, and nothing that would be like embarrassing to them that they wouldn't want to be shown. Because I do show my kids on Instagram, and Sarah does too, sort of. Well, you do, yeah, you got heaps of photos of the kids on Instagram, and we talk about the kids in the podcast, and that was my only like one little what do we do? So how's your relationship with that, and how has that evolved?
I have, in the very beginning, I remember our kids have Instagram accounts, and our kids have like 300,000 followers on Instagram on their like personal pages. And in the beginning, when the day Dorothy was born, Garrett created an Instagram account for her and posted on it every single day. And it was his journal. And I think Garrett has done a really incredible job. If you really know Garrett, you know that his intentions with all of this are so pure, and he wants this to be a family journal, to the point where if you look into like YouTube and how to be a YouTuber and how to play the YouTube game, we don't do that.
Yeah.
You're supposed to make short, flashy, in your face 3-minute videos, and Garrett makes, our Antarctica video was an hour. Now he's so much to the point where he's like, I'm going to put in here exactly what I want to remember.
Yes.
And that's what I'm going to share. And for me, it took me a hot minute to like agree to even letting our kids' accounts be public. And I finally told myself, or I tell myself now every day, that social media is there. It's not going away. So you can either put out good, bad, or nothing.
Yeah.
And I genuinely think my personality would be a nothing type of person. But I completely agree with my husband, and what the world needs is more good.
Yeah.
The world needs more family and love and kindness and service and adventure and bravery. So why not be that family? And heaven forbid something horrible happens to my children, and I will take every, precaution to make sure that we're safe on the road and at home. But the stories that I hear of how we've impacted people's lives, and hearing people, little kids learning to swim or trying new things because they've seen my kids do it. And that's what I just always have to remind myself when I get, and this whole children on the internet thing is getting so big, and it's constantly in my brain. So a lot of it too is, and I think Garrett and I just really the last year have been, what do our kids want to do?
Yeah.
Where do they want to go?
Yeah.
Do they want, sometimes we would have meetups, and I had a book signing in Orlando a couple months ago, and I sat them down. I was like, do you want to come?
Yeah.
Do you? And they were like, yeah, I want to come. They love going.
That's
and I'm
amazing.
like, well, as soon as you're done, tell me, and grandpa would take you home. Like, it's those sort of things that I'm trying to make sure that they're never going to come to me and be like, you forced me to do this.
Yes.
Garrett and I now are like, this is always a choice. And if you don't want to do it, or if you don't want me to share this, then I absolutely won't.
Yeah. And I feel like my kids, if I do a video or if I do anything, I always will go to Bodhi like, hey, I was thinking of putting this in my Instagram stories. Like, do you want to have a look? Do you like it? Is it okay? And he'll be like, yeah, that's cool. That's funny. And he's like, sounds like he's a little bit like your daughter. He's really creative.
Yeah.
He wants to be like a filmmaker like his dad. And all the kids want to make movies and be in movies. And I was like, all right, this is so their personality that it's taken away some of my like trepidation. Cause I'm like, I married, this radical artist, filmmaker guy who has his thoughts. And I'm like, I fully respect that. He wants to cast our kids in his films, and those films are global movies that, and so it's been interesting. I think I've had a similar journey of like, how do I feel about this? And then just like jumping in and knowing like if it's done with integrity and it's done with love and you do it in the safest way.
And at the end of the day, you're doing it together, So it's not that you're sending your kids off to be some film star or some TV star. Like, we're getting to have these memories together, which is the whole point of everything.
It's so beautiful.
Is that you're in it together. So,
oh my gosh.
But yeah, I agree. Anytime you want to chat through some mom guilt with this, I'm here for you, because I literally was having this conversation yesterday.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's a tough, we live in like it's a different time, and it's hard. I feel like we're all navigating as parents with social media and all of this stuff. We're like navigating these new areas where we're just like, I don't know, like, does this feel good? Does this not feel good? And sometimes we feel like really vulnerable about something, or like something will come up and you feel like really vulnerable. And then other times it's just like, exactly, like, look at what you're putting out into the world. And like, this is such a beautiful way to share with so many more people, just like how wonderful it can be. And I heard you earlier talking about service, like ways that you guys do service. And is that like your give back? Do you guys have certain organizations that you love to give back to and like help out with?
I would say that most of our travels we'll try to find, if we can, at each stop, some sort of give back situation. Yeah. And sometimes it's a let's find a waiter or someone who just needs a generous tip. Sometimes it's financial, but cool. If we can, we'll figure out what, like when we go to Africa, I always message the lodges in advance. What do they need?
Yeah.
And how can we help there? And that's always great, because a lot of hotels and destinations or hotels and properties have some sort of relationship with an existing nonprofit. And then sometimes, when we went to Bali, I've learned that you can find a lot of these nonprofits on Facebook. they don't even have websites. So in Bali, we found a really cool orphanage and went and taught English at an orphanage for a week. And it was amazing. And then we brought the kids and then in some places it was an animal shelter, and other ones we went and did tutoring for the kids and Turks and Caicos. So it kind of just depends where we're going and making sure that there's some sort of service opportunity included in, almost every stop.
I love that.
That's the dream.
Yeah.
That is the dream.
I remember that was the plan early on. And then we went to New Zealand and Australia and I couldn't find anything. And then everything made you do a
police check and
So there's some of those first world countries, America's probably included in that. It's actually really difficult to do some of that work. So that's when you're just the random acts of kindness sort of thing.
Yeah. Even to go on like excursion with your kids, it's like you have to provide the school, even if they know you so well and you've been at the school for 6 years, you have to provide like all the background information and be like, here's my police check, here's my working with kids clearance, here's have to jump through hoops. But well, you're amazing and you're my dream, and I'm going to send you my a picture of my manifest board and you can see
well, tell me, what else, what's I want to know what's on your guys' bucket list. Where do you guys want to go next?
Well, have you ever been to Jamaica?
I've never. Garrett and the kids went to Jamaica when I was 8 months pregnant.
Oh
they did a little daddy, father, kid trip without me. So I have not been to Jamaica.
I have been wanting to go to Jamaica. It's so random, I know, but I've been wanting to go to Jamaica for forever, like forever and forever. I'm trying to rope Sarah to come into the Maldives, but her husband's like, it's so far away.
No,
from
but
like,
we wouldn't go.
The travel is far. Because Suniva Fushi, you stayed at one of the Sunivas, I think.
Oh. Yeah, wait, are you invited to Suniva Fushi?
I am, yeah. We've been invited.
Stop everything and go pack your bags and go right
Sarah,
now.
I've been trying to tell her. I have been trying to tell Sarah this and her husband. And then Eric's like, I was thinking about Japan. I was thinking about Europe. I was like, Suniva Fushi. There is nothing better than Suniva Fushi in life.
Suniva Fushi is my middle son's favorite country in the whole wide world.
Oh my God.
That's so cute. Oh my God.
You have to go. Okay. It's amazing. And I know you guys are like both super health conscious and stuff. There's this room that you walk into and it's called the garden room, and it's freshly cut, every type of lettuce, every type of vegetable, every type of juice. And then you like make your own salads, and they've got olive oils from all over the world.
And then the chocolate room, there's this like room.
And then the chocolate room. And then the ice cream room.
Yeah,
it's so wild. The food there is incredible. And
we went when Bodhi was 3 and I had like a little 8-month-old. So I've been.
No,
but
she's trying to get us to go together. And
I've been trying to get the Olsens to come with us.
I know.
And they're just figuring out that they're going to Europe this year. And so
we'll go with you guys.
Oh my God. I've just been invited. She's like, come at the end of this year. And I was like, okay.
Let's do it. Let's all go in December.
Done.
Let's go.
Oh my God, we're going to Suniva Fushi. Yes, hallelujah.
Oh my God.
That's the best.
I'm so excited. My step kid learned to ride at Suniva Fushi, like ride a bike. It's the very first time.
Yeah, all of my kids, that's where they all learn.
Really? Because they get you're riding on the sand through the jungle and you go to the beach and the water's crystal clear and it's warm. Oh my God. Okay,
we're doing it.
I'm gonna contact them and be like, I was just talking to Jess and Sarah, and we're doing like a mass trip to Suniva.
Let's do it.
Massive.
That would be so fun. My kids would love that.
Love it. Okay, amazing. That's a plan. Well, thank you so much for gifting us with your time. We love you. You're so inspiring.
No, you guys are so sweet. I feel like we're old friends. So
yeah, I know.
I'll let you guys know next time I'm in LA.
Please do.
Let me know.
Yes, we have to hang out. This is amazing. All right, guys. This was Jess G from the Bucket List family. And you have been listening to the Mother Days. You can find our podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks, Daisy.
Bye.